Being a night guard is not easy, not only because of the cold weather and the challenge to remain awake, but also because of the deep solitude of the job. Words of strange voices and spectral figures are common occurrences in this field. This is especially true for the security personnel of museums, theaters, and other antique buildings. However, not all night stories concern the supernatural. There are real and mundane horrors, too. Armed robbers, people breaking into homes carrying shady intentions, and homeless people with violent tendencies are among the threats a night guard might face. Today, we're going to share the personal history of a night guard who quit his job after going through a dangerous experience. The Griffith Park Zoo wasn't open to the general public. Not dealing with visitors made my life a lot easier. My routine consisted of making sure all gates were safely closed, no one remained inside the buildings, and no strange people standing outside. Taking note of discarded trash, other night shift workers, and the failure of technical equipment were among my tasks too. After my first patrolling duty was over, I walked to our small office for dinner, some tomato soup until the time for my route arrived. I shared the place with 5 other guards, one being our supervisor. All of us had our own routes assigned and rarely stepped on each other's paths. Working in a park at night is off-putting. The shadows gain strange shapes, and sounds get weird. Stuff you wouldn't hear under daylight, that's for sure. When I got assigned to the Griffith Park Zoo, no one offered many details about the place, aside from the basic information I would need to perform my work. The office was already empty when I arrived. Few buildings had electricity, a couple of offices, the bathrooms, and an area destined for the staff of the local college. The Griffith Park Zoo actually housed wild animals, the majority rescued from illegal owners and unable to return to nature. Researchers and their students were in charge of looking after the animals. My routes never reached their enclosures. That night, I had a strange feeling in me. I didn't feel ill, and nothing particularly bad had happened earlier. Yet, I somehow didn't feel fine. Suddenly, the lights were turned off, then on and off again. The power was gone. I grabbed my phone and called the supervisor. None of the other guards were with me at the moment, so it was my duty to inform. I remember an eerie feeling behind me as I waited for my supervisor to pick up the call. Turning around, I looked out the window. The outside was pitch black. I could only see the shape of bushes and trees against the night sky. The zoo is placed on the outskirts, so clear skies are common. There were movements in the darkness, and adrenaline rushed in my veins. My body knew something was going on before my mind caught up on it. I waited, but nothing came. My supervisor never answered the phone, which annoyed me. I tried again and again, but the phone wouldn't even start the call. The signal was gone. By that point, the majority of us had to know what was going on. Then, noises arrived directly into my ear. Laughter and a crying voice? It sounded female. The sounds were unmistakable and clear. The crying was a little farther, but I could still hear it well. I grabbed the lantern. The time to begin my route was close anyway, but 1:30 in the morning. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach when I saw a bunch of shadowy figures crawling on the ground. There had to be more than 3 animals in there. My first thought was of a group of abandoned dogs. The sound of grave, inhuman laughter enveloped me as I noticed the little details of the animals. A long mat of hair along their necks, high round ears and spots on the fur. Nothing abnormal when it came to dogs. But those weren't dogs. I was watching hyenas, a group of hyenas laughing as they feed on birds. Staff allowed farm birds to roam free. That was how they met their end. Their eyes shone brightly under the lantern light. They studied me, and fear climbed up my body. Running is a sure way to provoke an animal into chasing you. Yet their attention was back on the bloody pulp on the floor, as feathers levitated and fell everywhere. Some grunted at me, so I walked in the opposite direction. All doors and gates were open. Something very bad was occurring. Hyenas weren't supposed to walk around freely. To my surprise, the lights were on again. It should have made me feel safe, but it did not. The light was coming from cabins and rooms where the electrical service was interrupted decades ago. The sounds of a female voice crying gained my attention. I chased in that direction, knowing it was the route of my female coworker. Growls, hisses, and glimpses of dark figures accompanied me as I ran. The unmistakable yelling of monkeys climbing on the trees made me shiver. Objects fell around me. The zoo animals were on the loose. Branches and leaves scratched my upper body as I moved, prey of panic. I almost tripped over twice after stepping on rocks or mud at the side of the road. I ignored it all. I didn't want to confront whatever was out there. As it turned out, the female voice I had heard first in our office and next on the road came from a pair of foxes. There were many stories of outdoor people finding foxes after investigating a suspicious crying voice in the wilderness. No one needed my assistance. My heart was beating fast, cold sweat on my face and hands. It almost let my phone slip off. My supervisor still wouldn't answer my calls. Same for my coworkers. I was isolated. I had never heard of old electrical connections gaining power out of nowhere. After finding refuge in a shack, I decided to wait before making another call. The phone reception was back, so I Googled Griffith Park Zoo instead of calling anyone since no one picked up. It started in the early 20th century as the pastime of a rich businessman. The guy had exotic animals brought over from different parts of the world. After the 1929's crash and out of money, he had the idea of selling the animals' pelts for cash. Like a macabre fable, shit got for the worst when a mountain lion ate his little girl right in front of him. No one could explain what had happened then. The animals had their own enclosure, and yet the cougar found the kid. After that, the park was taken over by banks and government offices until the local college gained partial ownership of the place. Urban legends about lights getting turned on randomly and voices inside the historical buildings were normal. The sides of my face hurt after the scratches, and I noticed blood on the phone screen. It came from my hand. The skin was opened, and a mixture of dried and fresh blood covered it. Back then, that was the least of my worries. I called the supervisor again. He answered, but the call got interrupted. Then, no service again. I left the shack, desperate for contact. That's when I heard the growl. Out of nowhere, a strong force pushed me down. There was a high pressure on my lower back, and my face crashed against the ground. It hurt like hell. I was surrounded by growling and a sobbing baby voice. It could only belong to a toddler. Something heavy stepped on my leg. I didn't dare to move. Something was scratching my thigh. To hell with the subtlety. I pushed all my body weight to the side, and to this day, I suspect that's what saved me. A sharp claw fell on the ground where my back lay moments before. Gunshots approached us. I yelled, and the animal ran away. It was fast, but the lantern still allowed me to catch a glimpse of a cougar. My team had to carry me to the zoo's entrance and wait for an ambulance to arrive. After receiving a checkup by the doctors and being questioned by the supervisor, I got medical leave. An investigation was conducted, but the results were unsatisfactory. No one could explain the light malfunctioning, nor its sudden functioning in buildings that weren't connected to the modern electrical system. No mountain lions were kept on the zoo grounds. African lions and panthers were present, yet no mountain lion had lived in the park since 1929. Despite that, I wasn't the only one to witness a cougar running loose that night. To make things worse, they had found tiny shoe footprints near the place where I was attacked. Who was the owner of the sobbing voice I heard as the cougar attacked me? I'd rather never know. I quit that job after a cousin offered me a security position in the factory he managed.